Everyone mentioned today is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and everything I discuss here is theory until proven fact, even if it is.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss that fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel. I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real. But how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? They wanna say my name, but they holding back. They wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't play no games, I just do that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah bitch I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on the shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these dreams I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seats as I spread with every word that I've said. How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel?
Hey guys, how you going? Good to see you, Deb. J1, how you going? I'm early today, so I'm not expecting many people to be on, but there you go. There's a couple of things I wanted to say too about the UFO video I did the other day. I still don't believe in reptilians, but if they are reptilians, I'm pretty sure they would be interdimensional and not extraterrestrial as well. Just to clarify. Oh dear. And also, poor Timmy, when I was talking about people flip-flopping on Iran, I didn't mean normal people. I meant the like influencers and things like that, people with a lot of reach, you know, because then the public doesn't know what to believe. They think that's what's happening, you know. So anyway, good to see you too, Deb and J1. Okay, now I just watched something, so I thought I'd include it in this video or live. The day the empath snaps and it hits something inside. It's a stupid AI video. I wish someone had read it instead of using AI to read it, but it has some information in there that is, I don't know, I needed to hear it. It's very interesting. What can I'd love to react to it, but I don't think I can.
Carl Jung documented a psychological pattern so disturbing that he called it among the most challenging transformations he had witnessed in human nature. Across multiple cases, he observed patients, especially empaths, who seemed gentle and broken until something inside them snapped.
Yeah, and from there it goes on. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I would love to sit here and react to it. But, yeah, I won't do that to you. But that was a very interesting video. And what I might do is I might actually copy the link and post it in the chat in case anyone wants to watch it. It might just, I don't know, it did something. Made me realise a couple of things there, so I don't know if anyone else will feel the same way if they watch it. Ryan Dagler said exposing narcissistic abuse is... Oh, sorry, he didn't say that. That's his name. There is a curious myth perpetuated in our modern world that the empath is here to heal others. A noble idea indeed. But like most half-truths, it masks a deeper archetypal... Well, okay. I can't say that word, obviously. Function. The empath is not born to be a perennial healer, endlessly pouring themselves into the wounds of the world. Rather, they're born to serve as a mirror for humanity's collective shadow. Their sensitivity is not a wound, it's an initiation. Their suffering is not a flaw, it's a map. And if they dare to look deeper beneath the impulse to mend others, they will find the truth, that they were never here to fix. They were here to reveal what is this collective shadow that so many fear to name and fewer still are willing to face. It's the amoral psychic residue of all we are. Carl Jung. There you go. Now that's enough, that's enough from Carl Jung for today. Now we'll get into the news. This is about Trump meeting Zelensky and all that the other day. Okay, so we're going to just run over that. The Vigilant Fox said, inch by inch, peace is now within reach because one man refuses to quit. The last Trump-Zelensky meeting ended in fireworks, but today everything changed. Fresh off his historic summit with Putin in Alaska, Trump welcomed Zelensky to the White House, which ended in a move that could finally stop the killing for good. The last meeting between Trump and Zelensky famously ended in a blow-up. It was bad. But today, when President Zelensky arrived at the White House, the tone was entirely different. President Trump had just returned from a historic summit with Russian Vladimir Putin in Alaska, where the first step towards peace had been laid. He now had to get Zelensky on board. The world was watching to see what would happen next. At around 1 p.m, President Trump greeted his Ukrainian counterpart outside the White House. This time, Zelensky was wearing a suit. Yay for Zelensky. The two smiled as they shook hands. When a reporter asked Trump what message he had for the people of Ukraine, he replied without hesitation, "We love them." From the start, it was clear this was a different atmosphere. The leaders then walked into the White House together. Peace talks were officially moving forward, and Trump hinted that the next step could be a trilateral meeting with Putin to finalise the deal. Shortly after, the press was invited into the Oval Office. Trump, Zelensky and Vice President J.D. Vance were seated in the exact same spots as their contentious meeting back in February. Trump broke the ice by thanking Zelensky for making the trip to Washington. Then came the update. We have had a lot of good discussions, a lot of good talks, Trump said. I think progress is being made, very substantial progress in many ways. Referencing the Alaska summit, he added, "We had a good meeting, as you know, just a short while ago with the President of Russia. I think there's a possibility that something could come out of it, and today's meeting is very important." His tone was notably optimistic. Something had shifted. Okay, we'll keep going. When it was his turn to speak, President Zelensky thanked Trump directly for the personal role he was playing in trying to end the war. So unlike last time, Zelensky came in thanking Trump. "If I can, first of all, thank you for your invitation and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you." I think he's overdoing it now. Anyway, no, probably not. His tone was respectful and sincere, entirely different from the more combative posture he took during the last meeting. Then he handed Trump a letter from his wife to give to First Lady Melania Trump, thanking her for asking Putin to release the kidnapped Ukrainian children. "Using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States. She sent a letter to Putin about our children, abducted children, and my wife, First Lady of Ukraine. She gave the letter. It's not to you, but to your wife." When the meeting opened for the questions, a light-hearted moment stole the show. The same reporter who roasted Zelensky last time for not wearing a suit told him he looked fabulous today. Brian Glenn from Rural America's Voice interjected, "President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit." Trump immediately jumped in, making sure that Zelensky remembered the last encounter. "I said the same thing. Isn't that nice? That's the one that attacked you last time. But this time Zelensky got his revenge. I remember that, but you were in the same suit." Press pool erupts in laughter. "You see, I changed, you are not." He was in a great... Wow, that sounds like a com. You see, I changed, you are not. The press have not changed. Maybe Zelensky has. He was a great sport about the whole thing. The vibe was clearly different in the room this time. As the Oval Office meeting came to an end, Trump doubled down on his solitary goal. This is the only thing he truly cares about. "I want to get the war stopped. It's very important." A reporter asked if there was anything from his meeting with Putin in Alaska that left him disappointed. Trump paused for a moment, then dropped a major hint as to what would be coming next. Putin was expecting a call. "He's expecting my call when we finish this meeting." Trump was preparing to reach out directly to the Russian leader to arrange a trilateral meeting with both Putin and Zelensky. If it happened and it all went well, Trump said there was a good chance they could bring the war to a full and final end. The stakes were rising by the hour. After the media was ushered out, Trump and Zelensky joined other European leaders in the White House state dining room for a closed-door discussion. A short while later, they re-emerged, this time for a formal photo op in the cross hall. It was a pretty powerful image. President Trump stood at the centre, flanked by Zelensky and French President Emmanuel Macron. The rest of the delegation lined up on either side. If the war ends, this moment will become part of history. A visual record of one man bringing the world's leaders together to try and end the killing. And there is all the European, von der Leyen, Starmer, unknown, who God knows, I don't know who, Macron, Zelensky, what is her name? Oh, what's her name? You know her name. The group then moved into the East Room for multilateral summit. Trump took the lead, sitting down with Zelensky and a host of EU officials. He thanked everyone for joining his efforts. He opened by calling the day very successful. He confirmed what many had suspected. He had already spoken with Putin and planned to follow up again after the White House talks concluded. "We're going to try and work out..." Oh, my God, the same thing over and over again. Can they put something different in there? The urgency was clear from the president. Put this to sleep. Because this is not since the Second World War has there been anything like this. As the leaders each took turns addressing the situation, one moment stood out from the rest. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte looked directly at Trump and said what no mainstream outlet dared to admit. "I really want to thank you, President of the United States, dear Donald, for the fact that you, as I said before, broke the deadlock, basically with President Putin by starting that dialogue." He continued pointing to Trump's early effort that started back in February. "I think it was in February that you had the first phone call, and from there we are now where we are today, and that is, I think we play this well, we could end this." It was a stunning admission from NATO's top official, acknowledging that Trump had opened the door to peace. Without him, the killing would continue without an end in sight. It was in direct opposition to the media's only narrative left to spin on the Ukraine war. After the multilateral session ended, the leaders met once more behind closed doors, this time in the Oval Office. The press waited outside for hours. Then just after 6 p.m, Trump broke the silence with a post to Truth Social. And this one was big. It was all about to come together. He opened it with a full recap on who was in the room. "I had a very good meeting with distinguished guests, President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of Finland," one of the unknowns that I couldn't name, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, the lady of Italy, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Friedrich Merz, President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and Secretary-General of NATO, Mark Rutte, in the White House, which ended in a further meeting in the Oval Office. He then made something clear. During the meeting, we discussed security guarantees for Ukraine, which guarantees would be provided by the various European countries with coordination from the United States of America. In other words, there would be no deal without real protections in place. But then he dropped the announcement the world had been waiting for. At the conclusion of the meetings, I called President Putin and began the arrangements for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and President Zelensky. A direct meeting between the two wartime leaders was now officially in the works, set to take place within 2 weeks. That means that Trump's a wartime president. Do you get that? And if that meeting goes well, after that meeting takes place, we have a trilat, which would be the two presidents plus myself. Again, this was very good. Early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years. Plans already moving behind the scenes. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are leading the coordination effort. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are coordinating with Russia and Ukraine. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Step by step, inch by inch, President Trump is pulling both sides closer. What seemed impossible just weeks ago now feels within reach. The world is closer to peace because one man refuses to stop. It's pretty amazing to watch. And a very big thanks to Overton News, which you can follow on X. You can also follow Vigilant Fox, who wrote that thread. Okay. There's a bit of funny news in here too. Nick Sautor said, as much as I want this image of European leaders sitting at the White House like they're waiting to be scolded by President Trump, by the principal, sorry, to be real, it's not. There's a set of phantom legs behind Macron. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a similar scene playing out right now, though. Yeah, there's an extra leg. Yeah, one extra leg and an extra foot. So there you go. Beware of the AI fakes. Oh, dear. How you going, Sherry, Gen X and Pat? Good to see you guys. Spetsnaz 007. This is one of the funny ones. Oh, no, this is not one of the... Is it? Oh, there's a funny one in here. Anyway, European leaders have begun arriving at the White House in efforts to convince US President Trump to go to war with Russia, which is not going to work. Ursula von der Leyen. Okay, I wasn't going to play these. I'm just going to show you. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Oh, he has to do himself up before he steps out of the car. Okay. British clown Keir Starmer. You clown. Italian PM Giorgia Meloni. And I still think that clip with her all like, you know, looking weird and stuff like that is AI put together. But anyway. Finnish Gaylord, Alex Stubb. Oh, well, I wasn't expecting that one. Finnish Gaylord. Is his last name Forker? Alex Stubb. No. There you go. And German Führer, Friedrich Merz. Okay, who else have we got? Napoleon wannabe, grooming victim, domestic violence victim, married to a possible man, Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, I was going to say about his missus, Brigitte Macron, right? I think she's a man too, right? But I don't know for sure. She might just be a really ugly woman. You never know. Okay, Maggie Kitty said this just goes to show the European elite wanted to prolong this war. Absolutely disgraceful. I'm guessing that your European leader was Macron. What about you? Let's have a listen.
And one of the things at the table was one of the gentlemen, who's a great guy, but he said, I hope I didn't insult him. He said, well, let's meet in another month or two, and let's see if we can start, making some... He said, a month or two? You could have another 40,000 people dead in a month or two. You have to do it tonight. And I did, actually. I called President Putin, and we're trying to work out a meeting with President Zelensky. We'll see what happens there. And then if it works out, then I'll go to the trilat and close it up. And one of the things at the table...
Okay, so let's see. Thomas Sowell quotes said, Secretary Marco Rubio, Putin's not going to meet with Macron. He's not going to meet with the UK. There's only one leader in the world that has any chance of bringing these two sides together, and that's President Trump. We can have a look at this. Oh, where am I?
If at some point it becomes clear that both sides are so far apart and so dug in that we're just not near a peace deal, then the president will have a decision to make about how much more time do we invest in it and what actions does he take then. But I want everyone to understand, if this morning the president woke up and said, I'm putting these terrible, strong sanctions on Russia, that's fine. It may make people feel good for a couple hours, but here's what you're basically saying. You're saying talks are over. For the foreseeable future, for the next year or year and a half, there's no more talks because there's no one else in the world that can talk to him. Okay, Putin's not going to meet with Macron. He's not going to meet with the UK. With all due respect to these leaders, none of these leaders are going to be able to bring him to the table and talk to them. There's only one leader in the world that has any chance of bringing these two sides together. If there is a chance, there's only one leader in the world that can do it, and that's President Trump. And you forfeit that role the minute you put additional sanctions on him. We may get to that point, unfortunately, but if we do, it means that peace talks are no longer possible, and that would be very unfortunate. Because the real world ramifications are that while we're here calling each other names and doing TV interviews about this stuff and all of that in American politics, there are people who today will be injured and killed in the battlefield and in cities, in Ukraine, on the front lines, and even in Russia. Even as we speak, people that have nothing to do with this war are suffering as a result of it. And I think we are very fortunate and blessed and should be thankful to have a president that has made peace and the achievement of peace a priority of his administration. We've seen it in Cambodia and Thailand. We've seen it in India, Pakistan. We've seen it in Rwanda and the DRC. And we're going to continue to pursue any opportunities we can find to bring about peace in the world.
Okay, so there you go. Okay, Johnny Midnight said, why do you think they're looking at Macron's wife like that? Watch them. Hey, he had his eyes. They're all putting their eyes down too. Yep, check that out. Yep, and you too. Yep. That is hilarious. What you got down there? Are you a man or a woman? Everyone's just taking a big guess at the moment. Okay, America said this is hysterical. Trump describes European leaders as they arrived for the meeting yesterday. His descriptions are pure gold, especially Macron. Yes, I know this is a voiceover. Okay, you ready for the funny one now? Okay, let's have a look. I want to make it big too. Hang on. Someone's done, it's obviously, if it's Trump, it's AI.
Okay, let's see who arrives now. This guy, they say he's the president of Finland, looking like the captain of a cruise ship. We need to get him a captain's hat later on. Okay, who the fuck is this guy? These Europeans all look like accountants. Yes, sir. I come to do your taxes. Okay, thank you, sir. Ah, the British Prime Minister. They say this guy is gay. I don't know if that's true or not. I just think he's a dork. Hey, this guy is definitely gay, and his wife is a man, and she beats him. MML. Poor guy. Georgia Maloney. I love her. I told her and Elon that if they ever have a kid, they better name him Eloni Maloney. Ursula. I like that she calls me daddy. They all should when you think about it. Good day. I come to see my American daddy. Yes, thank you very much.
Oh dear, I thought that was funny. I just needed a laugh too. There you go. Okay, and over in Canada, Alex Zoltan said breaking a historical victory as Polyev becomes the first man in history of democracy to receive more votes than the next 213 candidates combined. He's back in there. Polyev is back in. Okay. Jerry, not Tom, said just in. Trump, Zelensky and Putin have a meeting soon to discuss land. Yeah, pretty much, yep. While peace talks are underway, we're starting to see Russian military vehicles with Russian flags and American flags on them. Interesting. Is that AI? Because they're very bright. I don't know. It might not be, but they look very bright compared to the rest of the picture. That's just me. And I've already read that. Have I? The whole thing? Yeah, I did. There you go. It's going to be shorter than I thought, this stream. Okay, the Vigilant Fox again. Pam Bondi, 32 letters to mayors, 7 to governors, comply with ICE or Trump will federalise your city like DC. Washington, D.C. had the 4th highest homicide rate in the country right here in the capital, 6 times higher than where you are right now in New York City, higher than Chicago, higher than other major cities. If they don't comply, we're going to work with our other agencies to cut off their federal funding. We're going to send in law enforcement. There you go. Should we listen to it?
Are they complying? I mean, how is this working?
Some are, some are not. We've already sued New York. We've already sued Illinois. And if they don't comply, we're going to sue them. We're going to take away your federal funding. You're going to have to comply. We're going to send in law enforcement. If you're not going to do your job, we're going to do it for you to keep our citizens safe. Our great men and women in the National Guard are ready to go. They have been working hand in hand with our park services here in D.C. Again, everybody is working so great together. The Metro Police are loving it. The Transit Authority Police, Larry, down in the Metro, they're loving what we're doing because they can actually now arrest people. They have federal officers with them. They're buddied up, and they are making arrests, keeping Americans safe and keeping our capital safe. You know, families want to come here. Today I was looking, and there were so many families out because kids are still on summer vacation. All of our museums are free. The Smithsonian is free. You have our beautiful monuments. You have the zoo. And families deserve to be able to go there. Listen, our law enforcement officers are telling us that people are coming up to them on the street, and they said a lot of people are walking by whispering, saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. They're hearing stories every single night and day of people saying that they feel safe now to walk their own neighborhood where they live because of what our great men and women in law enforcement are doing at the directive of the president.
All in the planning. All part of the plan, remember? Very, very interesting what's going on. Matthew Kamanzuli said Treasurer Jim Chalmers here in Australia posing. If there are solutions to you should hear this shit. If there are solutions to the problems that we face, he clearly does not know what to do. Should have told us that before the election. The best thing he and Albanese can do is retire because they've got no freaking clue. This is a little round table in Canberra. Listen to this.
This is an ambitious group. This is an ambitious government. And we have an ambitious agenda before us. As we move through the next 3 days, I'd appreciate it if you could keep one thing front of mind. We don't just want to know what you would do if you were us, that's important, but we also want to know what we can do together and what your contribution could be to that bigger, more ambitious effort. Because if there are solutions to the challenges that we face, I'm confident that all of the people in this room can help us find them.
Oh, so you can't find them yourself? And I don't know, the reason I have a problem with this front of mind and talking to something, speaking to, you know, this and truth to power and all this shit is because I heard the left say it first, okay? That's why I have a problem with that type of... I've never heard front of mind before the left came in and started saying it, and I'm like, what is this? It might be a real thing. It might be something that you Americans say. I don't know, but I'm like, what? Anyway, and when they speak to a piece of paper, no, you're speaking about that piece of paper to us, okay? But anyway, that's just what I heard. The first time I heard all this shit was from the left. That's why I have a little problem with that. Clandestine said we're approaching mass awakening. One of the big talking points today was Melania's letter and the need to address all the missing children in Ukraine and around the world. Trump is starting to shed light on the subject that will unite humanity. Blah, blah, blah. The missing children. Okay. You know how President Zelensky handed Trump a letter for his wife? Yeah, here you go. Donald J. Trump said Ursula von der Leyen, the distinguished and highly respected President of the European Commission, I beg to differ, and I have been discussing the massive worldwide problem of missing children. This is likewise a big subject with my wife Melania. It's a subject at the top of all lists, and the world will work together to solve it, hopefully bringing them home to their families. I hope so. Oh, and apparently... there's more shit flying around. A little girl The little Gazan girl killed fetching water, a threat about a new lie aimed against Israel, yet which the evidence shows otherwise. Now, the death of this girl is a tragedy, but it wasn't the IDF who killed her. So Al Jazeera released a video purporting to show a little Gazan girl walking with a container of water in a street in the middle of Gaza. The video then shows a bright flash and then a dense plume of dust covering the screen, and as it settles, the video shows the alleged body of the girl laying dead against a long, narrow concrete slab a few feet back from where she was standing at the moment of explosion. Shortly after the explosion, 2 medics carrying a stretcher walk onto the scene and lift the body, then take her out of scene from left to right. Later posts from various accounts and propagandists claim this was a missile fired by a drone. But let's look at all the evidence, unravel the story to expose the lies. The first thing I noticed when looking at the video is that the camera was filming prior to the girl walking into the scene. There was no shaking whatsoever, so the camera was fixed firmly and left to film. Even after the explosion, there was no shaking, which tells me that the camera was fixed firmly, but also that there was no major shockwave, which you would expect from a large bomb or missile fired at the position. You see a rock in front of the camera rocking slightly. This was likely a loose rock placed to hide the camera in its position. Okay, that's the rock. Hang on. Okay, be quiet. There you go. That little rock. Okay, you'd expect a little more damage than that anyway. The second thing I did was to slow down the footage to 1 frame per second. I did this to try and identify any object entering the scene from above or side. If this was a missile or bomb, there would be some object entering the scene. Now, 2 things can be noted from this. At 2 seconds and 15/100ths of a second, you see her walking and the ground has no burn marks whatsoever. There is also no objects visible entering the scene from any direction. I've circled the ground in front of it to show no burn marks or craters whatsoever. However, just 2/100ths of a second later, the screen is filled by a glow of an explosion, and at 8 seconds and 88/100ths of a second, the video circles the girl's body against the slab. I've circled the same area of ground as earlier in the video, showing scorching and burn marks on the ground. The crater is almost non-existent, which is inconsistent with a missile or bomb dropped from above. So from all this available visible forensic evidence, this was not a missile from a drone. This was almost certainly a small IED, likely a remote-triggered pipe bomb or small pressure bomb. Hamas or another terrorist group planted an IED in anticipation that IDF soldiers or vehicles would walk or drive over that exact spot, and the camera was set up to capture that moment. But when the girl walked and stepped directly onto the IED, the footage was used as propaganda by Al Jazeera to claim missile or drone strike. Even the way the dust move showed this was an IED and not a missile. Conclusion: the little girl was killed or severely injured by an IED planted by terrorists and not by a strike by the IDF. The camera was already set up to film that precise location, which would be impossible to do if it was for a missile strike, because how would they possibly know the exact position of the strike and the girl walking and yet have a camera fixed in position filming it prior to the girl even entering the scene? This camera was set up to be fixed firmly and film a planted IED in the hope of capturing the moment terrorists killed IDF soldiers. Unfortunately, a tragedy occurred and a little girl was hit instead, and the footage is now being used as malicious propaganda. It is a lie, and this was not an IDF attack. End. As is most of it. Propaganda. Oh, and look at this. Reserve Bank of Property. That feeling of freedom a French family feel after selling their French castle, this thing here, okay, €750, and only having to stump up and add an extra $600,000 on top of what they sold their castle for to secure their dream home in the millionaire's enclave of Lakemba. Now, why on earth would you sell this to move into this? That's crazy. This is Australia, okay? This is worth less than this. What in the hell is going on? Oh, dear. Okay, and Ian Atchison said if Lucy Connolly, is that the chick that was locked up for words? If Lucy Connolly launches a civil action claiming she was discriminated against while in prison, all the risk assessments, control measures and decision logs will become disclosable to her legal team. Their existence, non-existence or proportionality will all have to be revealed. I have no idea whether this will happen, but features of a treatment alleged in media were so perverse it's a real possibility. The court will deal with any attempts to obfuscate or cover up robustly. I've seen this in action as an expert witness. Interesting times ahead. While in prison, the clue is in the first word. Oh, yep. Yep, while in prison. Yeah, I don't know. Is that the lady in the UK that was locked up for words? Yeah, I'm just wondering. Okay, well, the machete ban didn't work and neither did the bins, because apparently machete-wielding teens caused chaos at IGA stores across Victoria. Are you surprised? I'm not. It didn't work. Neither did the gun ban. So there you go. Vittorio said, I've been going down the gooning research rabbit hole and it seems pretty clear that there are very few things worse than porn. It's literally worse than cocaine. There's not one single upside to it. Anyone genuinely interested in the future of humanity should want to make it illegal. It should be. It destroys people. Okay, and this woke shit. Basil the Great said an Anglo-Saxon noble from the upcoming King and Conqueror series, which starts on Sunday. Why do the BBC keep doing this? It's not an Anglo-Saxon. Oh dear. BBC is shit. Same as the ABC, SBS, Channel 7, 9 and 10 here in Australia. Rob Smith said the staffers and politicians can claim $338 per night living away allowance even while staying in Canberra in their own house. Albanese loves a VIP jet. He's never out of it. And his staff rack up $3.3 million per year flying business and first class. Wong's staff is no better, over $1 million per year. Look at them all. Little bureaucratic pieces of you-know-what. Yep, ministers' staff trips cost us $22 million a year. That's taxpayer money. No wonder they want to keep adding more tax to on top of the taxes they already have. They're now trying to take inheritances away from people. Oz Integrity said say what the fuck? Labor government just diverted a massive $50 million of a $90 million regulatory fine to be paid to a union. This is grand larceny. Australian Federal Police and NACC must investigate this fraud. The Other Side TV said, I'm sorry, what? $50 million of the $90 million fine imposed on Qantas today will be paid not to the government coffers but to the Transport Workers Union. What do the Transport Workers Union have over the government? The fine will be paid for by you on your airfares as prices are forced to go up, of course. The sacked workers were already given $120 million by Qantas. It might be just for them to get the extra $50 million, but the union? Why? Can anyone please explain to us how this is in any way just or moral? Update, the TWU, which is a union, will not allocate funds to affected workers. The union will keep them. Let's be very clear, this is extremely unusual. Here's what happened yesterday. The court imposed a record-breaking $90 million fine on Qantas for unlawfully outsourcing approximately 1,820 ground handling jobs during the COVID pandemic. Okay, if you believe businesses have to provide jobs for whatever, whether they want to or not, okay. But $50 million of that fine has been ordered to be paid directly to the Transport Workers Union. The fine is not being paid to the government, us. Instead, $50 million is directed to the TWU and allocation of the remaining $40 million will be resolved at a later hearing. According to the Courier Mail, the TWU intends to use the fund to further campaigns for workers' safety and conditions. That's code for we're keeping it. And remember, the unions are the Labor Party in this country. Separation is an illusion. Make no mistake, this is very unusual. In most cases, under the Fair Work Act, when a court imposes a fine, that money is normally paid to the government's Consolidated Revenue Fund, i.e. the government, not the union. Under the Act, fines can be awarded to organisations in special circumstances. The new $90 million fine is punitive, not compensatory. It is on top of the legal costs of the union that Qantas has to pay, estimated $30 million. But the workers already got $120 million from Qantas. If you divide that by 1,820 employees, the average comes out at around $66,000 each. Actual amounts may vary depending on individual economic circumstances, example, length of employment, wages lost, emotional and non-economical impacts assessed per person. So in summary, Qantas passengers, most Aussies and shareholders, most Aussies with super, will pay $120 million to the sacked workers, a year's pay each, $50 million to the union for shits and giggles, and $30 million to lawyers for the TWU, the unions, tens of millions for its own lawyers, $40 million to be decided, total estimate $270 million. Now, the Australian reports that Qantas's own calculations, however, suggest the airline has already saved close to $500 million by outsourcing the below-the-wing workforce at 10 airports to companies including Swissport and Menzies. But all this proves is how grossly inefficient the original workers were and how right and justified Qantas was to sack them. In fact, not sacking them would be akin to stealing from passengers and shareholders on behalf of the workers and unions and rewarding their gross inefficiency. Is that how we should do things in this country? Is that moral? No, it's a union racket they busted, and now they must pay. That is crazy. That was from COVID, okay? Replacing workers that then the union went, no, you can't do that, and then the union is keeping all the money and not giving it to the workers, and oh my God. That's crazy. Mark PG said 85% of Indian migrants voted Labor last election. Do you think Anthony Albanese, by bringing in over 1 million new Indian immigrants since taking office, is a coincidence? His communist background is taking shape. He will turn Australia into what, one-party country? It's nearly already there. Liberal or Labor light, so we're nearly there. And this, Daniel said, training the next generation of useful idiots. Resist and Rebel, a socialist conference. Featured speakers include Amy Nielsen, emergency doctor who worked in Gaza, Claire Fester, LA-based socialist and organiser via Zoom, and Mike Grucock, oh my God, these names, I don't know, criminal author and researcher. Saturday, 23rd of August at Redfern Town Hall in Redfern in Sydney. So if you want to be propagandised, yeah, you can go to Resist and Rebel. I got this conference. Wonder how many people are going to be there. But, you know, just know that you are a useful idiot if you do go. Okay, Eric Doherty said, breaking Pam Bondi and Kash Patel have just appointed Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey as co-deputy director of the FBI, alongside Dan Bongino per Fox. Have I read that? No? Okay. Attention Secretary Duffy, as someone who's been driving a truck for a long time, who has a son driving regional and a grandson driving OTR, back in the day I couldn't wait until I got into a truck, and now I can't wait till I get out of this truck. That guy who did that U-turn that killed the family of 3 isn't the only one out there, folks. There's people coming from Somalia, the Congo, Nigeria, etc. that are unvetted, that are getting put in a truck whether they failed the road test or not. I know this firsthand. I was a driver trainer and I've failed drivers, and the company would put them in a truck anyway. And this company is closely associated with the IL Trucking Association. I'd love to be called into a committee by Secretary Duffy and give him the names of truck lines doing this. I'm ready to give up my job for the safety of all Americans. This has to be exposed. The trucking industry is putting American lives in danger in order to line their pockets. Wow. I'm sure we've got the same here in Australia and probably England as well. Lisa said, the situation in Sydney right now. A room full of Chinese gathered to buy in to an early release housing project in St Ives. Multiply this by thousands of housing developments and you get the picture. Australians don't stand a chance. No, we don't, especially with people like this and people who allow it, our government. Oh, this was really interesting too. Okay. I have to click on it because we've got to go up. Brian Cates, political columnist and pundit, said it's when Israel-Ukraine door swings open, the shit's really going to get real. You'll find out who's behind Israel and Ukraine at the very same time. It's going to be mind-blowing for some people, but not Anons. And then someone tried to, I think someone tried to say it was the Jews. Anyway, White Lotus come in and said the true top of the pyramid are the Venetian black nobility. Their front men, Praetorian Guard, and administrative layer are the court Jews. The Radonites, Babylon black sorcerers rooted in Tyre. The ancient hub of human trafficking, Moloch worship, and Babylonian money magic used the Khazarians to choke out the northern steppe Silk Road. When the Babylonian Talmud was completed in the 5th or 6th centuries CE as a system of mind control and spiritual redirection, it eventually spread to the Khazarian elites, who mass converted to Judaism around the mid-8th century. This conversion formed the basis of what would later be called the Ashkenazi Jewry. Okay, now the Talmud is not the same as the Torah. The Torah, I believe, was the original Bible of the Jews. Long before this, however, money, magic in Babylon, Moloch worship, and human trafficking in Tyre were entrenched from the earliest phases of the Kali Yuga. The just ended 6,000-year span in which Moloch held sway. The Babylonians enslaved the Proto-Hebrews with Abraham, marking his followers by circumcision as a sign of enslavement, combining physical mutilation with demonic magic as a tool of control. During one of their wandering periods, the Hebrews were used to recover fragments of alchemies, astrology, and magical texts from the pre-flood era, remnants of Atlantean knowledge. The Hebrews were enslaved a second time in Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar II, who destroyed the first temple in 586 BCE. After their release, they constructed the myth of an Egyptian enslavement period. That story has no historical support. There are no Egyptian records of it, yet Egypt was a great enemy of Babylon and Tyre, which practiced Moloch worship. The myth thus functioned as a transposed memory of the real Babylonian captivity. Fast forward, Alexander the Great crushed Tyre in 332 BCE. Later, the Romans destroyed Carthage in 146 BCE, eliminating another Tyrian colony. The elites of Tyre and Carthage moved to Rome, while the Radonites remained in the corpse of Babylon, guarding the demonic portals. Centuries later, Rome fell and Venice emerged. The Venetian nobility enshrined in the Golden Book carried lineages that trace back to Tyre. On the Rialto, they established international banking and developed methods that drew in part on those pioneered by the Templars. In 1311, Pope Clement V reaffirmed the Church's ban on usury at the Council of Vienne, threatening severe penalties for Christians who engaged in it. In 1312, he suppressed the Knights Templar who, despite their faults, represented a more disciplined, reasonable and regulated approach to international banking. Their removal cleared the field for the Venetians and their court Jew intermediaries. Meanwhile, Khazaria had already been crushed around 965 by someone whose name I can't read, Sviatoslav, I don't know, of Kievan Rus. But waves of Khazarians emigrated into Eastern Europe, Poland and Hungary. The Mongol invasions of the 13th, 14th centuries pushed further masses into Europe where they assimilated into the Ashkenazi population, became concentrated in what would later be known as the Pale of Settlement. As usury was forbidden to Christians, the Venetians, who secretly continued their Molochian rites, used court Jews as the visible money lenders to kings and nobles. This arrangement, coupled with countless financial manipulations, helped to prolong the European Dark Ages. By the late 15th century, evidence such as Sola Busca Tarocchi, as documented in Peter Mark Adams' The Game of Saturn, confirms that Venetian nobility were openly practicing Saturnine Molochian magic. From these operations emerged a powerful egregore, a magical construct with two faces, like the Roman god Janus. One face compels people to hate Jews so blindly they fail to see the hidden hand directing them. The other face compels unconditional devotion, as with the Schofield Bible Christians who defend Jews regardless of circumstance. Together these two masks form a firewall, shielding the true families, the Venetian black nobility, and their allied European noble houses such as Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, aka Windsor, and certain Italian lineages still concealed today. After the near destruction of Venice during the War of the League of Cambria? Oh, I don't know. 1508 to 1516, the Venetian black nobility realised they were too exposed. The old Mediterranean order was collapsing and the new world was now an open secret. In response, they liquidated their Venetian holdings and shifted their hubs westward, embedding themselves in Amsterdam and the City of London. From these Atlantic strongholds, they created the British Empire, founded the East India Company, and developed the global chattel slavery system. This transfer of power from the Adriatic to the Atlantic ensured their survival, masked their Venetian origins, and allowed them to project financial, naval, and colonial dominance on a planetary scale. The rest, as they say, is history. The Jews, aka Khazarian Mafia, are immensely powerful in world affairs and must be understood as engaged as such. But behind them lurks a far older and darker force, the Venetian black nobility, heirs of Tyre and Babylon, who practiced banking sorcery before Abraham was even born. Wow, an important piece to understand what's going on is the concept of three levels of consciousness with overlap: most high, pure good essentially versus Luciferian, mixed evil and good versus Molochian, pure evil. Here's a graph for you. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I do know about, I've heard, about the Venetian black nobility. And maybe, they are running or have enslaved the Jewish and use them as puppets. Who knows? Okay, have I read this one? No. Who understands why Trump waited until now to do this? Donald J. Trump said, "I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster, leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election." Remember the watermarks years ago? We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We'll begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they will cheat at levels never seen before, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them, for the good of our country to do. With their horrible radical leftist policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender and woke for everyone, and so much more, Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots and voting, and everyone, in particular the Democrats, knows this. I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax using voting machines that are a complete and total disaster must end now. Remember, without fair and honest elections and strong and powerful borders, you don't even have a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Go, mate. You win. Okay, Bow Tide Stocks said house prices are plummeting in New Zealand and Canada now, but people still tell me they cannot fall here in Australia due to fiat currency debasement and or immigration. I'm pretty sure Canada had a bit of immigration too. Curious, isn't it? Let's see what happens. Sean Challen? Blackstone didn't buy 274,000 homes to be landlords. They spent $1 trillion turning home ownership into subscription housing. Does anyone remember a few weeks ago when I showed you the rentals out in the middle of nowhere in Australia for $3,000 a week, $1,500 a week, not a month, a week? Yeah, same ones. They are creating a generation that will own nothing and rent everything because they're also furnished, right? So you walk in, pay $1,500 to $3,000 a week, and all the furnishings are there, and you got to pay. While families dream of white picket fences, Wall Street dreams of permanent tenants. Hey, that rhymes. These aren't real estate investments, they're wealth extraction machines. Invitation homes, 53,000 houses, American campus, 144,000 student beds, air communities, 27,000 apartments. Mobile home parks where a lot of rents tripled overnight. This is systematic dispossession. The timing isn't coincidental. As interest rates spike, individual buyers get priced out while Blackstone pays cash, often 30% above asking. They celebrate declining construction as good news because less supply means higher rents. Scarcity is their business model. So it's not just our government and their multitude of houses they own that makes them not want to lower housing prices, but it's also their mates like Blackstone, who remind me of BlackRock, which is probably a subsidiary of the same thing. Each acquisition follows the same playbook. I have no proof of that, by the way. I'm just guessing. Yeah, each acquisition follows the same playbook. Bulk purchases outbid families with Wall Street money. Minimal renovations, lipstick on profitable pigs. Algorithmic rent increases, real page software sets market rates. Strategic concentration, dominate key zip codes. This is $1 trillion in housing monopolisation. Blackstone already controls rent prices through AI. Read that again. RealPage software coordinates revenue management across competitors. The DOJ calls it price fixing. Over 30 lawsuits pending. When algorithms set your rent, you're not in a free market, you're in a rigged game. Local families go bankrupt competing with trillion-dollar funds. First-time buyers get crushed. Millennials priced out permanently. But Blackstone keeps buying through cheap debt and investor capital. Why compete with individuals when you can eliminate them entirely? Wall Street calls it build to rent. You'll own nothing and be happy. Neighbourhoods designed for permanent renters. No ownership pathway, no equity building, no wealth transfer to the next generation. See how it all ties in? You live in their houses, follow their rules, and thank them for the privilege of never building wealth. The math never made sense for families. Now it does for feudal lords. Corporate investors bought 30% of starter homes in 2024. Home ownership rates stuck at 65%, down from pre-2008 highs. Unless you're not building communities, you're building corporate plantations. America's defence against wealth inequality has always been home ownership. Property builds generational wealth, creates stable communities, gives families skin in the game. Blackstone need to capture that wealth transfer, so they capture the houses themselves. Here's a terrifying part. It's accelerating. While politicians debate housing shortages, Blackstone quietly cornered entire metro markets. 800 homes per month in 2025. The ultimate rent-seeking behaviour, literally seeking rent from basic shelter. Every preserved affordable unit sits in a portfolio of inflated properties. Stoytown, rent caps for PR, California buildings, 38% rent increases, mobile home parks, tripled lot rents, Sunbelt suburbs pricing out locals. They aren't random investments, they're systematic extraction. Or systemic, or which one was it? Systematic. Blackstone learned from tech monopolies. You don't need 100% market share, just enough to set prices. 3% national ownership becomes 30% local control. Network effect kicks in, competition dies, renters become captives. While we debate inflation, Blackstone built the infrastructure for neo-feudalism. 274,000 homes aren't waiting for buyers, they're waiting for permanent renters. The American dream isn't dead, it's being monetised by people who already own everything. And this is Sean, a generative AI consultant, passionate about building AI-driven solutions. He writes about AI startups and the future of work, and he might be AI himself. I don't know. I'm joking, of course. You can follow Sean Chahan. I'm not sure how to say it. Sean. On X, anyway. And this one, which was sweet. Dominic Dyer said a homeless man has captured the attention of thousands, not for begging, but for the way he rocks his dog to sleep every night. When asked why, he explained that life hasn't always been this way. When I first got him, we had an apartment, he said softly. Living on the street's been a hard adjustment for him. The honking, the sirens, the people, keeps him up. So every night I make sure he's asleep before I close my eyes. Aww. That's a bit of a palate cleanser for anyone, unless it makes you cry, then sorry. Okay. What's this one? Holden Culotta. 8 California judges just greenlit sweeping medical mandates. COVID-19 was only the beginning. This ruling opens the door to drug mandates, dietary mandates, even mandates on your behaviour. One judge dissented and delivered this shocking warning. I fear we're giving the government a blank cheque to foist health treatment mandates on the people. It's not going to work. You all may want to bookmark this thread. This decision carries frightening consequences for health freedom in America. COVID set the stage. Now America is barrelling towards a dark future of medical tyranny. Do you really think so? I don't think Trump's going to allow that. What do you think? Maybe in California until you get rid of Gavin Newsom. It all started in September 2021. The Health Freedom Defense Fund, California Educators for Medical Freedom and individual plaintiffs sued the Los Angeles Unified School District for its COVID-19 shot mandate on employees. They argued that the shots had no public health jurisdiction since by the CDC's own admission they did not stop transmission or infection. At the heart of this case was the 1905 Supreme Court ruling, Jacobson versus Massachusetts. Henning Jacobson, a pastor living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, refused to comply with the local smallpox vaccine mandate. State law enabled Cambridge to impose a fine for Jacobson's non-compliance, but he fought back. Jacobson argued that the state law violated his 14th Amendment right to personal liberty and infringed upon his bodily autonomy. Sorry, I need a sip of my tea. And maybe a bit of a cough, just hang in there. He said that he and his son had suffered previous vaccine injuries and feared that the smallpox vaccine would put them in danger. Where have I heard that before? The Supreme Court ruled against Jacobson. They held that states have broad power to protect public health and safety, that individual rights can be restricted in response to a health crisis, and that vaccine laws were a legitimate use of this power. But Jacobson was not forced to take the vaccine. SCOTUS only upheld Massachusetts state law allowing Cambridge to fine him for his refusal to take the shots. This was back in 1905. Okay? Now in the 2021 case, the plaintiffs argued that 1905 Jacobson ruling did not apply. First, they argued that COVID-19 shots do not stop transmission or infection. Thus, they lacked public health justification. Second, they argued that COVID-19 was in no way comparable to extreme emergency posed by smallpox. Its death rate was 30%, whereas COVID has a 1%. Third, they argued that Jacobson was decidedly on the belief that the smallpox vaccine was widely believed to actually stop the spread based on decades of use. If in doubt, see your doctor, please. The case has been winding through the court system since 2021. In 2022, a district court ruled against the plaintiffs. In 2023, they appealed the ruling. In 2024, a 3-judge panel ruled in favour of the plaintiffs. In July 2024, the defendants filed for an en-banc review by the full Ninth Circuit. Then in July 2025, the full Ninth Circuit ruled against the plaintiffs and dismissed their case. Health Freedom Defence Fund, the Ninth Circuit's, isn't it corrupt? Health Freedom Defence Fund founder, President Leslie Manookian, slammed the July 2025 decision as court-sanctioned authoritarianism. The Ninth Circuit didn't just dismiss the case, they swung the door open to all kinds of tyrannical medical mandates. The implications are practically unimaginable. Every American needs to read this and sound the alarm. And you can follow Holden Culotta. First, make sure you follow him. He posts threads on everything from Mahan health, freedom to UFOs and ancient history. To support his work, you can subscribe. Okay, the Ninth Circuit Court ruled that LAUSD's COVID shot mandate was constitutional as long as authorities could reasonably assume the COVID injection had public benefit. It didn't matter whether the shot worked or not, or whether the authorities lied. All that mattered they said it worked. The 1905 Jacobson decision, meanwhile, actually did hinge on the general perception that smallpox vaccine prevented transmission, not the fact that the authorities claimed it did. Leslie Manookian summed up the terrifying implication of this ruling clearly. By the court's metric, a lying politician can mandate virtually any medical intervention on the American people as long as it's under the guise of public health. Where does Big Brother stop? The implications of this ruling should terrify you. Leslie Manookian slammed the Ninth Circuit for slyly and dishonestly shifted from public health and safety to the individual health of school district employees to justify the ruling. Judge Bennett wrote the plaintiffs conceded that COVID-19 shots lessen the severity of symptoms. From this, the LAUSD could have reasonably determined that the vaccines would protect the health of its employees. This justification had nothing to do with public health. It gave school districts a blank check to mandate medical treatment of their employees. Manookian responded, since when has it ever been a school district's job to direct the medical treatment of individual employees? Yeah, they're not doctors. Going forward, will LAUSD also mandate that its employees get regular exercise and 8 hours of sleep? Will cholesterol-lowering drugs be forced on teachers? In September 2021, the CDC changed its definition of vaccine. Why? To easily sell the public on shots as vaccines rather than what they really were, gene therapy. But the Ninth Circuit, and see your doctor, I don't know, because I'm not a doctor, but the Ninth Circuit never even acknowledged this highly suspicious move. A vaccine used to mean an injection that prevents disease and produces immunity. Just in time for the COVID, the CDC changed the definition of vaccine to mean the act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce protection, not immunity. Lastly, the Ninth Circuit repeatedly cited that Jacobson enabled states to enforce public health laws. But Jacobson never mentioned school boards, and California never enacted new laws on COVID-19 shots. Manookian slammed this move by the Ninth Circuit as a fallacious claim and deceptive sleight of hand used to reach their decision. The Ninth Circuit's ruling raises terrifying questions about the extent of state power. If a state can mandate a medical product under real or fake public health scare, it can mandate any medical intervention it chooses, can it? Can it mandate psych meds to improve public morale? How about Adderall to enhance public productivity? Here's the main takeaway from this case. The Ninth Circuit may have just signed a blank cheque for all kinds of draconian medical mandates and interventions. Judge Kenneth Lee of the Ninth Circuit issued a terrifying warning in his dissent. I fear we're giving the government a blank cheque to foist health treatment mandates on people, despite its checkered track record, when we should be imposing a check against the government's incursion into our liberties. And that is the end. Thank you. You can follow Holden Culotta on X. Okay. What's this one? Oh, yes. Deep state panic. CIA officials tried to gut DNI Tulsi Gabbard's declassification of the Russia hoax files. This was from a few days ago. She overruled them. Trump approved it. Minimal redactions, no edits. Here's what they buried. The just declassified 46-page House Intel report shows Obama-era officials fabricated the January 2017 ICA. Have I read this already? Suppressed intel that Putin expected a Clinton win. I feel like I have. Have I read this already, guys? Can someone tell me? Suppressed intel that Putin expected a Clinton win, laundered shoddy sources, violated IC standards and misled the public. I do feel like I've done this. I think I have. Okay, so that would be it for today. I'll read some of the comments and then I'm going to go. Oh, and by the way, things could be happening quicker than I thought they were going to. So anytime from this weekend, I might go missing for a little bit so I can move and get things done. Okay. Deb, how you going? J1, how you going? Me, how am I going? All right. Sherry, how you going? Gen X, how you going? Pat, how you going? Sherry said Ukraine bombed Turkey's pipeline after the meeting with Trump. Zelensky does not want peace with anyone. He's about to bite off more than he can chew, I think. Yeah, well, if he does, then the world will see it, Hey, Susan, how you going? Deb said, Hev, she is ugly. Yeah, Macron's wife. Look, she could be a woman, just a really ugly one, Like, I don't know, because I don't have that ability to see through people's clothing or anything, so I don't know. I think she might be, but I don't know. Gen X, how you going, Gen X? Are people seeing TikToks about HIV, uptick numbers, and remember that protein bridge used in the Jabberwocky miracle cure for 5 update pokes? Oh, there you go. Yeah, I've heard about that for a while, that those things caused HIV. I don't know. Okay. Gen X said Atlanta, Houston and others. Deb said they had the power to stop the death, but it's making money. Yeah, exactly. Deb said he, they don't treat Shim like a lady. Deb said it's people watching. I need a good laugh right now. Yeah, I'll pin that. Doesn't matter, I'm near the end anyway. Conchega. How you going, Conchega? He's one of the owners of the business called the Australian Tax Office. Do an ABN lookup. Yeah, I know. They're all registered. Deb said, so they will stop adrenochrome production in Ukraine. Hey, Kai. How you going? Good to see you. Hey, guys. Much love, everyone. Another shitty day here. I'll be listening. Yeah, it's raining here. It feels like it's been raining for like 2 weeks. I don't know. Probably not, but it feels like it. Conchega said the footage of the food being handed out and the kids carrying, etc. is fake news. There's a video where the girls involved are rehearsing in a car with the press. This is all a movie shoot. The whole thing's a movie, including the wars, because I don't, honestly. Look at the Ukraine thing and Russia in the beginning. Why were they using game footage as war footage? I really want to know. Anyway. So it makes me think, we're watching a movie. More and more makes me think we're watching a movie. Deb said, great to see you, Kite, but it's an interactive one because we're feeling it. Deb said, so any carnage will do. Deb said, cheaper bills. Susan said, I'm a bit behind on Rewind, but Bridget Macron has some crazy-looking skinny spider legs, lol. I don't know for sure if she's a man, but even so, he would be a pet. Yeah, exactly. It's not whether he or she is a man or a woman, really. It's that 30, 40-year-old went out with a teenager who was underage. That's the problem. That is the problem. And it's abusive by the look of it. Slapping him on the plane. Susan said, why do I have a crown, lol? Because you're commenting, that's why. What's that all about? I know, I don't get why. YouTube have done this. They keep changing shit and it's not good either. I don't know, it pees everyone off. Oh, dear. Yeah, what's it all about? I don't know. Enjoy the crown anyway. Deb said, we don't really know and don't want it. It's total crap. Deb said, Stormy is a truck driver and can see how bad the new Australia can't handle our road and the big vehicles. Yes, exactly. Susan said, okay, thanks, Deb, thinking social credit scoring or something weird. You boobers doing. Yeah, exactly. It could be. Like, Susan, it could be. Yeah, Deb, not real Jews. No. They're the ones, like, for all we know, the real Jewish could be being held hostage, mate, by these people. J1 said, Nimrod's magicians, Babylon. Yep. Deb said, history lesson today. There you go. Yep. Oh, no, Conchega. Susan meant boob tube, like, not that Deb's boob's doing something weird, okay? Deb's laughing at Conchega. Deb said, bloody expensive furniture. Yeah, for $1,400 to $3,000 a week is bloody expensive furniture, isn't it? Yeah, I don't want that shit. I don't want a furnished house. I want a house empty so I can furnish it. Thank you very much. Well, up until now anyway. I've got to sell all my furniture now, but it's going to be an interesting few weeks, guys. But I will be in and out. Like, I'll be popping in here and there, just not on a regular basis for about a month maybe. The chickens are going this weekend or early next week. So I won't be doing, and I can't stream on Saturday either. So maybe from, what day is it? Tomorrow on I won't be, tomorrow may be the last day for a little bit, guys. I really apologise, but it has to be done. Deb said, I bet the same branch, the same tree. Stu said, just found out my daughter was starved, abused by her mother for 18 years and no one told me. I was telling everyone. Mum was violent and dangerous. Oh, Stu. I am so sorry, Stu. I'm about to cough. I've got a tickle in my throat. I think it's the fuel behind, like the Caro. The strong smell of Caro. Just had to make sure I turned my mic back on there. Oh, that's terrible, Stu. Oh, my heart goes out to you and your daughter. Yeah, so sorry to hear, Stu. Stu said, hey, Deb, what a relief to finally know my daughter's out of that toxic relationship. Oh, good, she got away. Good. Stu said, fatherhood begins. She needs a sewing machine. I didn't know you can pay over 30 grand for one. What's it do? Cook, drive, fly? Stu, you don't need to spend that much for a sewing machine, but, yeah, no, it's good if you have one because if she can use it, it's great. Deb said, I'm a very motherly mum and everyone around me, so it bothers me when you find out your family's being mistreated. Hurts deeply, Stu. Yes, definitely. Deb said, I think I need, what's Adderall? Stu said, Deb is soul crushing. J1 says, Stu, I can relate, bro. Oh, you guys, honestly. My heart goes out to you if your family has mistreated you or been mistreated, you know. Deb said, Stu, yes, they should at that price. Shannon, how you going? Driving back from the shops and school run. Cool. Sherry said, I'm an artist, I know bone structure. She's a man. Anya, Sherry. Deb said, my understanding of Jibberwock was Pandora's box. Well, I knew from the beginning, and all these people are claiming that they, you know, they were the star of exposing it. No, there was a lot of people exposing it. It just got deleted off YouTube for it, you know. Anywho. Yeah. And there's someone that I've lost a little bit of respect for going, I've been awake since 2017 and I know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, yeah, try 2008, mate. And the people even longer. There's people who've been awake for much longer than we have who would know even more. So there you go. Oh, Debbie meant Adderall. Okay. What does it do? If it makes you, like, energetic, I don't know. I'd probably need some too. I don't know. Or if it's the opposite, then I don't need it, okay? J1 said the Crocodile Dundee crotch grab for Macron. Yes, exactly. We need Paul Hogan to go up and grab it by the crotch. Deb said, great, Shannon's in the house. Everyone's saying hello, Shannon. Deb said it was his teacher. Yeah, exactly. But a pedo, because that was he was underage. Macron was underage. Raven Lilith Moon, how you going? Good to see you, Raven. Stu said, maybe I should go to hell, but I'm doing well. Teacher needs to see me after school. Conchega said, Deb, had to read that comment twice. Adderall. I thought it was something else. Yeah, I wasn't sure what it was either. So there you go. Where am I? Here somewhere. Raven said, I stuffed my back last weekend and have been stuck in bed in pain. but it's from an old issue. It's on the mend now. Oh, prayers for you, Raven. God love you. Yes, Deb, I'm sniffing Caro. No, it's you can get less smelly Caro, but I can't afford that one, so I just got to get the blue Caro, you know, kerosene I'm talking about, for a kerosene heater. And it's when it's burning, you can really smell the kerosene in the room, even though I've got the window ajar for the air because I need air. Yeah, it's still very stinky. Shannon said, I got charged 65 cents for a squeeze sauce packet with my... You're kidding. 65 cents for those little squeezy sauce things. They should be throwing in free. Stu said, I feel so uplifted. She's safe, Hev. Thank you. Oh, good. Thank God. Yeah, Deb, speedy recovery, busy mummy, Raven. Yep, Deb's corrected me and said Adderall. Deb said, in the 80s, I heard how they was going to get rid of the useless heaters or eaters. Heaters or... It says heaters, Deb. Do you mean eaters or heaters? The useless heaters. Like kerosene ones. I don't know. Deb said, I don't know. Deb said, I feel like I'm going crazy some days. And Deb said, fumes. Okay. Yeah, well, they've got one that doesn't stink, but like I said, it's, you know, a bit more expensive. Stu said you can always heat up some rocks like the Indians do to keep warm at night. Yep, and with that, guys, I'm going to go. I will be back tomorrow, but it may be the last day for a few weeks tomorrow, so hopefully you can join me and, yeah, for the last stream for a while. Just for a while, not forever. Okay, guys, hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. You did mean eaters, Deb, thank you. Yep, the Georgia Guidestones was a plan till they all got blown up. Deb said, Mum and Dad were shopping and said to Charlotte, we have visitors, get 2 bottles of methylated spirits. My dad's very funny. Yep, Stu said, later, guys. Have a good one, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.